If Nigeria is being disintegrated, the United States has no business putting their foot on the ground. They do not need to put their foot on the ground or to spend a huge amount of money, risk life, risk resources. All you need to do is to call the people on the table. Let every region go their separate ways according to value system. Every region in Nigeria can be able to strive on their own. They can be able to defend themselves against external forces. The Northern Caliphate can defend themselves. The Yoruba Democratic Republic can defend themselves. The Biafrans, we can defend ourselves. The Middle Belt can defend themselves. The only thing that is creating the problem we have today is lack of boundary, the open boundary. The open boundary after the British has handed over the business called Nigeria to the Caliphate. And the Caliphate are claiming the whole territory to be theirs. And as long as you continue to operate on that name called Nigeria, the Caliphate has a right to run over anybody they want to run over, to go anywhere they want to go, to exist anywhere they want to go, and operate with their terrorist act. You can't stop them. It does not matter how many soldiers you put on the ground. It doesn't matter the strategy you put on the ground. It takes just a few time, and then we go back to the operation. Many security experts have spoken about that. One Commodore from Oduduwa land, Commodore or Mowumi or Luomi or so. That Commodore came on national TV and said that these people will never stop pursuing their interests and their agenda of building the caliphate in the entire country, Islamizing the contraption called Nigeria. A Commodore, a secret security officer that fought for Nigeria, gave that, he said they will never stop. And even in that interview, at a point, he mentioned disintegration. He mentioned everybody going their separate ways. It doesn't matter how you run away from this fact. That is where the whole thing is going to end. Just as we told them earlier, we see 1,000 years ahead. When Dim Odubegojukwu was telling them about restructuring, decentralization, at that point, if they had listened, by now, what is happening would not happen. That was a step to redeem Nigeria, but they rejected it. The British rejected it because once Nigeria is saved, their business crumbled. In order to maintain that their company called Nigeria, they told Gowon to renege from the agreement he has signed. And you saw the result. Today, again, we are talking about the solution. Disintegration, peaceful breakup of Nigeria. They don't want it. They want millions to die. They want to record genocide before ever they will now go back to base and do what we are asking for today. We appreciate Donald Trump for his concern. The movement and steps of Donald Trump is appreciated, but we are shouting online every day, making our voice heard so that a lasting solution will be gotten, because these people will never stop. I didn't just say it. A security expert in Nigeria said it. I'm going to play another video today of a security expert that I played this video before. We have played the video that was presented by one of the content creators also online, Adiola. I'm still going to play that video today, another section of that video, the second part of the video that the guy made. We are going to learn a lot from that video. So when we are coming online every day to speak, we are speaking out to save humanity. Everybody today agrees that the contraption called Nigeria is sitting on a cake of gunpowder that could explode any minute. A time bomb that can explode any minute. Everybody agrees on that. The international communities, those who are concerned, those who are truthful, they agree on that. But when it comes to solution, none of them is ready. Just as always, their so-called United Nations are always late. The same way they were late during the time of Rwandan genocide. The Rwandese were there. They were blooming and planning and going ahead instigating the genocide. Moving ahead, the United Nations did not. They kept silent until that genocide happened and completed before they came and wrote their stories. The same thing happened in Kosovo. They never came until there was genocide. The same thing happened to the Jews. They never paid attention until it became obvious. And in so many other instances you can give across the world, the United Nations will never step in until there are loss of life of meaning. All they are interested in is writing the story. They want to write the story of genocide. But in this time around, we, the Biafran people, cannot allow them to write the story of Biafran genocide the second time. They kept silent in 1967. Genocide was committed. Not only that genocide was committed, they denied it till today. And all they are waiting for is to now write another genocide before they will now step in to disintegrate this country. We will continue to call them out. We will know that there are still some people like lying mind, people who still have conscience in them. There are still people who can be touched to go through the right direction. We are already seeing the light from the United States. And we need to continue to advocate and push more that the United States should go ahead and take a step that they want to take. There's no point to delay. The more you delay, you are only giving them more time to prepare, more time to hide their tricks, more time to take cover, more time to buy ammunition, more time to convince people to believe in them. Time is of essence when it comes to the issue of Nigeria. The more you waste time, the more you allow them to go underground and continue to convince the citizens, continue to create narrative to distract the attention of people on the real issue. That is exactly what is happening in Nigeria today. They have gone underground, galvanizing people everywhere against the real project, which is to save life. They decided to distract people from the real narrative, and they say a different thing. That is why it is important that this is not the time to be silent. This is the time to speak. Speak more than ever. Every single truth that they don't want to hear. This is a platform where we say those things they don't want us to say. Those things that Mazen Nandekan was revealing, that they are scared of, that made them to take him in. We will say them. We will give Mazen Nandekan a voice in this platform. Those things they are scared of, that Mazen Samuel was saying, we will give Mazen Samuel a voice in this platform to say those things. And they will never shut us up. That is why when you join us on this platform, do your own part. Share the program to all platforms. In this very platform, everybody is entitled to their opinion. This is a platform for public opinion. If you feel that we are not on the right path, be bold enough. Don't stay on the comment section. Send in a request. I will bring you in when the time comes to make your argument. If you have a superior argument, how things should be done apart from what we are doing, please click the link, come in and present your case. Let the Biafrans, let the world listen to you. If you can give us something that is more meaningful, tested and trusted, I bet you we are going to take it and we will run with it. But until then, what we have today is the best. Self-determination, true, consistent civil disobedience, peaceful civil disobedience, disengagement from everything that has to do with Nigeria, self-determination. If you feel you have a superior argument, please send in your request. Wherever you are watching us from, we will bring you in. You make your point. And at the end of the day, the world is watching. They will be the ones to judge. Today we have come again to discuss, as we always do. And the topic we chose to discuss today says, British colonial disaster. How the UK still controls Nigeria in 2025. British colonial disaster. How the UK still controls Nigeria in 2025, in 21st century. 2025 more especially, they are still there. And many of you must have known what prompted me to make this very program. So many of you have seen the videos online of what the Imo State criminal is doing in Imo State, calling it a summit. It's a global economic summit or whatever they call it. In that global economic summit, go and see people who were invited. These are the people who orchestrated this very problem we're facing today. These are the people who planned every single thing that has happened today that brought us to where we are today. They were the people that he invited there in the name of business summit. You saw the former British Prime Minister. And you saw Ban Ki-moon, the former United Nations Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon. These were the people who were at the aim of affairs when this very thing that's happening today was planned, activated, and sponsored by the governments of the world. All of a sudden, in 2025, in a time when we are talking about Christian genocide, not just Christian genocide, in a time that insecurity is the order of the day in Nigeria, they did not call a security summit. The security summit was not called. Imo State is the most insecure state in Nigeria as we speak today. One of the most insecure states. In the southeast is the most insecure state in the southeast. But today, they were not talking about security. They are talking about economic summit. In the midst of death of the people. In the midst of the atrocities they are committing. And they brought the people who planted these very demonic forces we are facing today, who sponsored them morally and activated them. The next person I was expecting them to see there was Obama. They should have called Obama too. They should have invited Obama. Obama should have been in that Imo State. These were the people that laid the foundation of what is saw today. That British Prime Minister you saw there, Ban Ki-moon, and all the rest of them. In a time when the issue on the line is insecurity. In a time when genocide is the order of the day in Nigeria, they do not care. And you see where they chose, Imo State. Now, you see, every day you begin to understand why the government of Nigeria imposed Hope Uzodinma that did not contest the election and they posed them in Imo State. It is becoming more clear. It is becoming more clear why they took Hope Uzodinma from number 4 to become a president. It is becoming more clearer every day. They want to take over Imo State by fire, by force. Use Imo State to plan their evil against the Biafran people, against the cause of freedom. But they're not going to succeed for as long as Chukwu Okabama lives. They went and invited an ex-British Prime Minister. The same British that have not spoken in all the insecurity that's happening in Nigeria, they never speak. Instead, they support the terrorists. They went ahead to say there is no genocide going on in Nigeria. They play down on the insecurity in Nigeria with their BBC. They play it down. Go and check the BBC report. Since the issue of genocide in Nigeria is on the front line, go and check what they are saying. Go and check their report about the genocide. Go and make research for yourself. That is why I have chosen this topic. To remind them and remind the world the role the British is playing in Nigeria and the role they play to bring us to what the insecurity that is today, the atrocity, the terrorism we are seeing today, sponsored, superheaded by the British themselves, directly and indirectly. And we are going to dive into the program by the special grace of Chukwu Okabiyama, and we will do justice to it as much as we can. And you that is watching out there, when the time comes, you are entitled to come and make your contribution speak your own opinion to get things going. We must not be silent. If there is any time to be silent, it is not now. No matter how tired you are, no matter how angry you are, no matter how disorganized and disagreed you are with your brother, this is not the time. This is not the time for disagreement. Every information that needs to be out there to present the case of Nigeria to the whole world. Once you see it, share it, like it, participate in it. It is not the time to talk about your brother and gossip about your sister or talk about irrelevant issues. We are facing the enemies head on, and we will continue to do so. My fellow Biafrans that are watching wherever you are watching from, lovers of freedom, lovers of humanity, we are here today again speaking about a very important topic: British colonial disaster and indirect rule in modern Nigeria. That is what we are talking about today. And we will try as much as possible to dive into it and speak about it. This very problem we are seeing today has its foundation from the amalgamation in 1914. A forced amalgamation without the consent of the people. Nigeria that you see today was put in place without the consent of the indigenous people. Not the Hausas, not the Yorubas, not the Igbos, not the Ejos, not the Efik, not the Shakri. Nobody signed in for it. I am talking about the indigenous tribes. None of them put their signature in that amalgamation that happened in 1914. It was completely the decision of the British to bring people that doesn't have anything in common, people that do not have value system, the same value system, and force them together to satisfy their own selfish interests for trade purpose, to create a company for themselves, to run their company for trade. Nigeria was not put in place together as a country to survive or to progress as a country. No. It was a business venture for the British that they created. There is no way you can unify ethnic groups with different systems, values, interests together. It is not possible. What we are seeing is extractive politics. Divide and rule that you are seeing today was what the British brought in for their trade. They introduced the divide and rule you are seeing today was put in place by the British in order to perfect their control over their business called Nigeria then. The divide and rule today that the caliphate have mastered was put in place. Up to today, the script is being written by the British on how they do their things. They went ahead to introduce the favoritism you are seeing today was introduced by the British. The systemic imbalance you are seeing today was introduced by the British. It is foundational. That is why one will say, destroy this foundation and lay a new foundation. It is not out of hate. It is not out of envy. It is a fact that we must understand. Because when the foundation is faulty, it does not matter what you put on that foundation, it will definitely fall. Just a question of time. As long as the foundation is not strong, whatever you build on that foundation, it will take only just a little while. It must collapse. It is a must. So the only way to succeed and have a lasting structure is to have a very solid foundation. When you found out that your foundation is not good, you destroy the entire building, lay a new foundation. And we have seen people do that in building. People will go and buy a house. You buy a house, maybe a downstairs, and you want to set up a skyscraper. You are not going to build on top of that house you saw there. What you are going to do is to demolish the house, lay a new foundation for the structure you want to put on top. So everyone that is shouting, you want a better Nigeria, you want a good Nigeria, there is nothing good you will put on a rotten foundation. It doesn't matter the kind of constitution. It doesn't matter who become your president. It doesn't matter what grammar you speak. Until you destroy that foundation and lay a new foundation, whatever you put on top of that old foundation will definitely fall. And that is why we say Nigeria is irredeemable. It is irredeemable because the structure that the British put in place was a false, destructive structure. A structure of extractive politics, a structure of divide and rule, a structure of favoritism, a structure of systemic imbalance. That is the foundation that Nigeria is standing upon. For you to have anything better than that, that foundation must be destroyed. That is why we are calling for this integration. We can come back together after all this. We can come back together based on our own agreement, based on the foundation that we will lay by ourselves. We can still be together. But if we continue to run based on this foundation that was laid on falsehood by the British to secure their business, you are only preparing and postponing the day of doom that will definitely come. You are preparing and postponing the day of doom that will definitely come. It will only take for a time. They told you that they gave you independence. But in the actual sense, Nigeria has never been independent. Never. Independent without full sovereignty. That is what you see in Nigeria. Independence is about sovereignty, having full sovereignty. That is what is called independent. But I bet you, just like when Donald Trump talked of coming to Nigeria, I see all of them talking about sovereignty. You are a sovereign country, you are a sovereign nation. You are not a sovereign nation. Nigeria has never been and will never be a sovereign nation until you destroy the foundation and lay a new one. How can you be claiming to be a sovereign nation when you went and took back the colonial master's national anthem? You even throw away your own national anthem that was put in place by the people themselves. You throw it away and you went and brought the colonial master's national anthem. And yet, some of you claim sovereignty. Nigeria has never been sovereign, will not be sovereign until there is this integration and the new arrangement starts. The structures, there's no sovereignty in the structures. Military training and political architectures designed to remain dependent on the British. The structure of the zoo is dependent on the British. The military training dependent on the political architecture designed to remain dependent on the British. That is why before you can contest for presidency, you will go to Chatham House in the UK. What does the Chatham House in the UK got to do with a sovereign country that want to have a president? A sovereign president. What business do you have with Chatham House to go and speak for you to be relevant, for you to be accepted, for you to become a president? And yet, some idiots come out and claim sovereignty. Even when somebody comes to rescue them, they say sovereignty. You have never had any sovereignty, and we never have any until there is a foundation led and built by the people themselves. There has never been any sovereignty. Early leaders have always been influenced. Every single leader that has emerged from 1960 to this point, they have always been influenced. They have always been sponsored. They have always been supported by the British interest. Every single leader, from their so-called fake independence date, every leader that emerges is influenced, sponsored, and supported by the British interest. That is the only thing that makes you a leader in Nigeria. And yet, you call yourself somebody from a sovereign state. You are not sovereign. The indirect rule of the British is very clear in the Zoological Republic. Up to today, the indirect rule continues. That is why you see what the drama you are seeing in Imo State. That is why you are seeing the drama you are seeing in Imo State today. In a time when the insecurity of the land is the order of the day, insecurity is the only thing that people should be concerned about. You are holding a summit, trade summit, or whatever summit they call it, inviting the people that created the problem, the architect of the problem. That's people you are inviting, honoring them. The indirect role is still going on as we speak. You see influence through diplomacy. You see corporate interests, resource, assets. That is what you are seeing that is being displayed in Imo State. And they sent their ex-president to come and speak. And people were cheering and clapping. The indirect rule is still happening up to the pressure on government decisions. Pressure. Nigeria government cannot take a decision without approval from the British. Without approval from the British, they can't take any decision. The elite class align with old colonial interests. All these people are called themselves elite. All the elite class you are seeing, they align themselves with the colonial interests. All these people that call themselves, from A to Z, no one is exempted. Even some of them that talk, you think that they are with you. Don't worry. Just be patient and look at them. Go and check what every single one of them is saying. On the move of Donald Trump to save life in Nigeria, go and check what they're saying. They are in the front line of changing narrative. They are the ones telling the masses that the United States is coming to take over Nigeria. The United States is coming to fight Nigeria, which is a lie. Donald Trump never said he wants to come and fight Nigerians in that tweet. He never said he's coming to take over Nigeria in that tweet. He was only calling the attention of the government to do what they have to do, or else the United States will weigh in. But go and check these people that call themselves elites. They are in the front line of changing the narrative, aligning with the colonial masters' interest. Have you heard British say anything? They never said anything. They kept silent as if they are not aware. But just yesterday, they are in Imo State, dancing and jumping. The indirect rule is still ongoing on a very high level. Key national institutions still shaped by British model and influence. The key national institutions in the Zoological Republic is still shaped by British models and influence. The SARS that was disbanded has British, it was British that put this in place. British have a role in forming SARS through Obasanjo to impose their force and terrorize the people. And it has not stopped. It is still going on as we speak. Before we close this program, I will play the videos of the atrocities that is still going on in Imo State, more especially today. What they have now is tiger base. And in that tiger base, they are much more terrible than the SARS. The police force that you are seeing today is police force that was put in place by the British. They didn't give you the police, they gave you police force. It is still about forcing people against their will, forcing people to be together, terrorizing people, using fear to control people. That is what it's still about. Key national institutions still shaped by British models and influence to create fear, to manipulate, more especially in their forces. In other countries, you don't have police force. They gave you police force to terrorize you, to instill fear in people, and to push their own narratives. And it's still going on up to today. And will still go on to tomorrow. And the political elites in that Zoological Republic are part of it. They are in the front line of running this very contraption for the British. The political elite, they're in the front line. They collaborate with the colonial masters for personal gain. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. The political elite, they are, look at somebody like Obuzodem now, who every one of us know his story. Every one of us know his story is not hidden. I have played it here over and over again. A criminal who escaped death row, and they brought him to be a governor, not through election. And look at what he's doing in Imo State. He's in charge of the execution that's happening in Imo State. The number of Biafran that man have murdered cannot be mentioned. Entire Imo State is filled up with mass grave, genocide, superheaded and conducted by Hope Uzodinma for personal gain. That's what you see. The elites who call themselves elites, ignoring the common good of foreign approval, for foreign approval. They ignore the things they're supposed to do. The good things they're supposed to do, they ignore it because they want to be seen as good people by their colonial masters. Ignore common good for foreign approval. They continue to fight by all means to maintain the colonial structure to retain power. They want to keep, there is nothing you will tell them to change this structure and they agree. Someone like Obasanjo. Obasanjo would never agree to change the system. He would never. Even when you see them talking, at the end of the day, they will go back to base. You see them use a word like that the unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. That is what you hear from the elites. Almost all of them. They will tell you that unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. They will tell you how Nigeria is one, even when they know that it has never been one. Even the people they call their leaders or whatever, their founding fathers or that never found anything. They call their people founding father, people that never found anything. You are calling people founding father of Nigeria, and they were not part, they were not signatory to anything that has to do with Nigeria. And yet, they push this language, founding fathers. What did they find? Even them in their own confession said that Nigeria is not one. They said it. Awolowo said it. Dr. Nnamdi said it. Tafawa Balewa said it. We are not one, can never be one. And they warned that we should go our separate ways. Each and every one of them gave a warning. Tafawa Balewa gave a warning. Zik gave a warning. Awolowo gave a warning. That we are not one people. But for selfish interests, these so-called elites continue to maintain colonial structures to retain power, to feel relevance. They ignore the truth. They shy away from the truth. They justify poverty, insecurity, and inequality. That is what we see. The elites in Nigeria, they justify poverty. They justify insecurity and inequality. You see them when they speak on national TV, you begin to wonder, where is their sense? There was a governor that came online sometime and said that he's giving every woman that gave birth in a hospital 500 naira. And he was boldly saying it in national TV. That you are giving any woman that gave birth 500 naira. How much is 500 naira? Is it up to 1 cent in dollar? And he was saying it proudly. You see some of their lawmakers, they buy wheelbarrow and dash to people. And they call it poverty alleviation. Wheelbarrow. Different kinds of things that you see from them. Today, insecurity, it doesn't really matter. As long as they have their own people to protect them. Look at them today. In this midst of insecurity, these same elites, they are the ones today in the front line of negotiation with the bandits. They join the bandits to share the money that they get. Inequality is the order of the day. You see people who is in the highest authority, they will come and tell you, do you know who I am? Why would you talk to me in that way? You saw the Hitler in FCT. You saw when he was bragging. By the time I was this, what were you? Who is your father? What were you? What do you have? Inequality. And they make you that people can never be equal. They just make it clear for you that you cannot be equal to them. And that is why they took their children abroad. And when they want to steal, they steal and steal what their generation unborn cannot be able to finish. Wike is stealing in FCT, stealing land even for his unborn children. These are the kind of people you have that continue to hold on to the colonial system. This kind of people can never, there's nothing you will tell them today to reshape Nigeria and they will agree. Never. There is nothing you will tell them to change this evil foundation and lay a new foundation. They will not agree because they felt that this evil foundation is favoring them. The evil foundation favors them. We must not forget this history of the evil foundation that was led by the British. It is important to put it in place so that when they start their drama, just like the one you are seeing in Imo State today, don't get confused. Don't get distracted and you see that something good is coming. Do not get distracted. Nothing good is going to come out of the zoological republic called Nigeria. Nothing good. This history matters a lot, that we keep reminding the people every now and again. It is very important. Nigerian instability isn't random. Nigerian instability is not random. It is engineered. The instability you are seeing today, it is engineered. Just like what we have in Imo State. What you have in Biafra today was put in place by the government itself, sponsor. And I'm not just saying it, there are evidence to confirm this. Colonial structures. The colonial structures that the British have put in place. The colonial structures that the British put in place today produced ethnic tensions that we are seeing. The ethnic tension you are seeing today, the hatred against the Igbo, is the making of the British. They were the one that rigged the very first election in Nigeria. They rigged the very first election in Nigeria that was supposed to make Nigeria a country. They rigged it in favor of the caliphate. Every single fake statistic that they have today, it was the British that put it in place. Gave them a fake map. In the map, they tell you that the northern part of Nigeria is 75% and every other person is 25%. They push the argument that the Sahara area is more populated than the Savannah area. Only in Nigeria. Only in Nigeria, you will see that the Sahara area, a desert, is much populated than the Savannah area. Only in Nigeria. Put in place by the British. And all these lies they have put in place, all these fake figures, is what is creating ethnic tension today. They made a Fulani man to believe that he is in charge in Nigeria. They reached a deal with a Fulani man, making a Fulani man believe that he owns Nigeria. It was the British that made a Fulani man that believed he owns, and they are up to today, they are still doing it. Up to today. Each time they come, they go and pay homage to Sokoto, relegating every other place to the background. The only person that they regard as a monarch is the Sultan of Sokoto. Every other person doesn't matter to them. And that is why, even in their government, they assume. Remember when they were telling you that they want to make the Sultan of Sokoto the leader of all the traditional rulers? The federal government implemented the same thing that the British have put in place. To cement it more, they made it official. And they were telling you that they want to make the Sultan of Sokoto, they made the Sultan of Sokoto the leader of all traditional rulers. The same forceful amalgamation has continued, even in 2025. You can imagine. You can imagine. Sultan of Sokoto, they made him the leader of all traditional rulers. We are talking about a country that is not one. We are not one. People that were forced together, even in forcing them together, you are still creating things without even the consent. Even that very title was given without the consent of other people, without the consent of other region. This is how the British colonial structure produced ethnic tension, produced political imbalance we are seeing today. It is the structure of the British that put it in place. The political imbalance we are seeing today in Nigeria was put in place by the structure of the British. Economic dependency, see them in Imo State. See them in Imo State. They are in the front line. In a time when insecurity is the order of the day, they are talking about economic development and whatever. Their own kind of development, their own kind of economic development to exploit. Exploiting the people. That's what they do. They take the best of the educated ones in Nigeria and they send them to UK. The best doctors of the UK are Nigerians. Mostly Biafrans. People from the south. Their best experts are in the UK. Their best workforce are in the UK. There is no employment for them in Nigeria. There's nothing to write home about for them in Nigeria. They make you depend on them. Centralized power that benefits a few. Centralizing the power is one of the things that the UK is always bent on. They put it in place. Colonial structure. Centralized power. When Dim Odumo gave them that on Aburi and said in Aburi is that it was the British that made sure that Aburi never stood. Because they already saw the progress the regions were making when they were regional. And some of them will bring the argument and say, it's argurancy that came. Argurancy only brought the unitary system because of the coup to unite the people. Argurancy only brought that very unitary system at that point in time because there was so much division and there was no trust between the regions. In order to keep the Nigeria united, he brought the unitary system. Which how many months did it take? How many months did the argurancy last? And then when they murdered argurancy, what stopped them from going back to that system that progresses? They refused to go back to region. Our eternal leader, Dim Odumo took them to Aburi. They signed up for regional government and later on, the British told them not to go into it. They centralized power so that they can only benefit the few. So that their divide and rule will continue. So that they can be able to use the Fulani to control everybody. And they succeeded. The genesis of the problem that we are still facing up to today. If we do not understand this past, it will be difficult to fix the future. That is why we are touching these issues. So, while the United States is focusing on this genocide against the Christians and the rest of the indigenous people, they should also know the foundation of this problem. In terms of a lasting solution, you can never run away with destruction of the foundation and lay the new foundation, which is disintegration of Nigeria. Creating country along value system. Everybody go their separate ways. Every region can defend themselves, can produce for themselves. There is no doubt about that. That is why we need to go back and touch on these issues. Understanding the past will help us to fix the future. If we don't understand the past or talk about it, they will continue to build on a faulty foundation. You continue to build on a faulty foundation. And it doesn't matter how beautiful the structure you put on top is, it will collapse because the foundation is faulty. It doesn't matter how beautiful the structure you are putting on the foundation is. As long as the foundation is faulty, it will just take some time. It will collapse. The future we are looking for now, the future we're looking for is demanding transparency, justice, and self-determination. That is the future where we are. Demanding transparency, justice, and self-determination. That is the future. And we want to bring this to the notice of the world as they are paying attention to Nigeria. The only thing that the indigenous people in Nigeria today deserves, not just the Biafra, every indigenous tribe, the only thing that they demand and they deserve today is demanding transparency, justice, and self-determination. And this will solve the problem eternally, and nothing will ever happen again. People must know who benefits from the suffering of the people today. You must know who benefits from the insecurity that is happening today. You must know who is benefiting from the injustice in Nigeria. There are colonial masters that are benefiting from this. The people must know. International community must acknowledge colonial responsibility. They must acknowledge it. Push for real change. The United States, while you are shining your light on stopping the genocide in Nigeria, push for real change, fairness, and people-centered governance. This is what has to be done. Every region must be respected. Every group must be respected. Respect for every group. Rights. Every right of every group must be respected to choose their destiny. People should be allowed to choose their destiny, and that is the only crime. That's the only crime Mazi Nnamdi Kanu committed. The crime that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu committed was that he was saying, allow people to decide their fate. You saw the interview he granted in Nigeria when Kadir Ahmed interviewed him. He told Kadir Ahmed that had it been that Nigerians on their own voted and said that we want to be part of Nigeria, he would never ever open his mouth to ask for anything again from them. So the main core of the problem is that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is asking for that. Conduct a referendum. If you do not agree with the referendum that has already been conducted, Mazi Simon Ekpa, after waiting for a long time, after the cry of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, went ahead to shine the light, conducted a self-referendum. If you do not acknowledge that, let the world conduct a referendum. Let the people, by themselves, decide what kind of government they want. Where do they want to belong? What kind of a life they want? And some of them will come with the idiotic argument that there is no referendum in their constitution. You must not have a referendum in constitution for you to engage in referendum. You must not. It is not a must that you have. You don't need to have a referendum in your constitution for you to conduct a referendum. And by the way, don't forget that the referendum has been done in Nigeria on several occasions. It was a referendum that brought the Adamawa people into Nigeria. It was a referendum that created the Middle Belt. So it is not something strange. And if Nigerian government is sincere and they want to make things right, there is what is called the doctrine of necessity. At this time, when you have seen that the clamor of the people is to allow them to make their choice, putting in place a referendum, you don't have to wait for it to be in the constitution. It doesn't need to be in the constitution for you to put it in place, for you to carry it out. But because of the interests of the wicked ones. They treat everybody as dumb. They think we don't have common sense. We don't know our left and right. And they think they can get away with everything they say. But I bet you, we will not stop talking. We will not stop speaking. We will not stop putting up our point until we get to a destination. When I saw the idiotic conference they are holding in Imo State, and I saw that man who called himself the former British Prime Minister speaking on that very summit, I laughed. Look at the people they invited. These were the people who are part of the problem. These were the people who created the problem in the first place. The people that created the problem in the first place. They are the people they are inviting. They are the people they invited. Somebody like Ban Ki-moon, go and check their record when they were in power. Go, everybody they invited there. Go and check who they are. Go and check their record. Go and check their record. What did they do in the past? It is sad. It is very, very sad. But no matter what happens, no matter what they do, we will not stop talking. We will continue to expose their evil. We will continue to call them out for as long as we can. We will never stop. Let them continue to push their lies. Let them continue to push their propaganda. Let them continue to push their evil agenda. We will never, ever stop. That is why I say that if there is any time to speak, it is now. If there's any time to speak, it is now. This is not the time to be silent. This is not the time to be silent. No matter how bad it is, no matter how troubled you are, no matter the challenges you are facing, this is not the time to be silent. This is the time for every one of us to speak and speak more, because they don't mean well for us. They don't mean well for us. This man today that is holding that summit in Imo State is the most insecure state. The most insecure state you can talk about today. If there's any, the only summit that's supposed to head in Imo State is Security Summit. Hope Uzodinma is committing different kinds of atrocities using the colonial police. In fact, the atrocity in Imo State today has surpassed that of SARS. It has surpassed that of SARS. Hope Uzodinma, who is calling the whole world in Imo State, he's the one in the front line of the genocide against Ndibo. But today, you see how they want to clear his record. You see how they brought him an international platform. They brought the worst governor, a man that didn't contest election. But look at how the British put him on a platform. This is what they do at all times. And this is why Nigeria will never, ever, ever be good. Nigeria will, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter how you do it. Nigeria will never, ever be good. It will get worse. Every blessed day, it will be worse than it was before. Just when you think you have got it right, it will be worse than ever. It can never be better. I am going to play some video that is coming, some confession that people are making on what is going on in Imo State. The confession that is coming from people in Imo State, the complaint that is coming from people in Imo State, I am going to play some of those confessions for you to hear and know what is going on. In the same state where the colonial police are creating chaos, and they pretend they are not seeing it. They pretend it is not happening, and they will come and tell you and I. They will tell us, "Oh, we should come and clap for them." Before I play those videos, let us take a very short break, and we will come back. Then I will play those videos for you to see.
Language of heaven, the very oldest language on the face of this very earth.
Because I can say that from what I have just listened from you, it is just not ordinary.
Very wonderful. When my lawyers came to see me, I had a discussion with them about how I'm going to defend myself. I told them that